housing in Estonia. In this video, we are going to talk about housing in Estonia. Although the pandemic has reduced the activity overall, the situation on the housing market is improving. Today you can find a rental apartment in any price range, and the market is the most active in the Tallinn, Tartu and Pärnu areas. The number of offers is lower in other places, and one must search among the available options. Finding housing. For someone with a D visa, the best option would be to rent an apartment or use an accommodation service like Airbnb. This is because a person staying in Estonia with a visa cannot register his or her residence in the population register. Only Estonian citizens and foreign nationals with the right of residence or a residence permit are allowed to do that. For more information on the differences between visas and residence permits, see video number 38. So, how can you rent accommodation in Estonia? There are several ways to find rental apartments. For example, through your university you can find dormitories, through your employer if they take care of the housing, or independently. The rental apartment portals that are most often used in Estonia are kv.ee, city24.ee. Feel free to check out Facebook pages like this or the one like this. People often advertise their accommodations directly on social media, so if you're lucky, you may be able to find a place without paying an agent fee. Further to that, there are several support services that help with translation, refer you to the necessary specialist, answer questions, help with advice, etc. The best option would be to get in touch with international houses in Estonia in Tallinn or Tartu, or visit the Tartu Welcome Center. A few things to remember. There are significantly fewer rental advertisements in English compared to those in Estonian. However, more and more advertisements are posted in several languages. Furthermore, people may be more cautious when renting an apartment to a foreigner for various reasons: language barrier, sense of caution, and so on. So, explaining your situation and introducing yourself, for instance, where you come from and what you're doing in Estonia, may help. Having a contact person who can speak Estonian is also helpful. Lease agreement. But how expensive is renting apartments in Estonia? The rental price depends on the location and size of the space. In larger cities like Tartu and Tallinn, the price per square meter may be around 10 to 12 euros on average. In a new or a renovated building, the rental price per square meter may be 14 to 16 euros. As of January 1, 2022, the average price per square meter of rental space was 13 euros in Tallinn, 10 euros in Tartu, and 8 euros in Pärnu. But the price is increasing every year. What expenses are associated with renting? The following expenses should be considered when signing the agreement. Contract fee, if the lease agreement is signed with the mediation of a real estate agent. Security deposit, which is up to a 3-month rent. The amount may be smaller, but not larger. Rent prepayment. In Estonia, it is typical to pay 1 to 2-month rent in advance upon signing an agreement. When living in a rented place, keep in mind the following costs: rent and additional expenses. These include utility costs like waste collection, stairwell electricity, parking fee, etc., but also water, electricity, and internet costs. On average, additional expenses may be between 50 and 150 euros a month, depending on the season and the size of the place. What are the terms and conditions for entering into a lease agreement? In order to rent accommodation legally, you have to sign a lease agreement. The agreement may be signed for a fixed term or for an unspecified term. The biggest difference between both is in their termination. A fixed-term agreement can be terminated prematurely only in exceptional cases, whereas an agreement for an unspecified term can be terminated with at least a 3-month notice. A tenant from abroad may benefit from a fixed-term agreement, as the landlord can only terminate it in an exceptional case. For example, if the tenant breaches the agreement, damages the property, and so on. It's also more difficult for the landlord to increase the rent in the case of a fixed-term agreement. What should the lease agreement include? The agreement must always include the rental fee, the term of the contract, and costs that apply in addition to the rent. Always remember, the landlord may only require the payment of additional costs that are directly related to the use of the accommodation by you. Costs that are not directly incurred by the tenant, like the building repair fund, are not payable unless otherwise stated in the agreement. The tenant and their family members may use the accommodation without restrictions. A few important things to remember. Ask for help from your employer or university with translating rental advertisements. They might know how to help you. The landlord is obliged to make sure that the tenant is staying in Estonia on a legal basis. Therefore, you must be prepared to show the landlord additional documents, like your visa or residence permit, employment contract, or others. Avoid renting unofficially, and make sure to always sign a lease agreement. This makes it easier to protect your rights and interests in case something happens. Before entering into an agreement, be sure to visit the accommodation or have a friend or a colleague do it for you. If you don't feel confident about searching for accommodation independently, you can always consult with a real estate company and ask for their support. For more information, visit the Settling in Estonia webpage. There is a separate topic dedicated to renting in Estonia on eesti.ee. Also, feel free to get in touch with International House of Estonia, International House Tartu, the Tartu Welcome Center.